So welcome to the first session of our second module. Our second module is on tools to cultivating a coaching culture, and this first session is on the formative quality of communication. And in coaching approaches, communication is a core tool for change. So in this session, we will think about using a complete approach to our communication with others to ensure a congruent and effective approach to cultivating a coaching culture. By the end of this session, you'll be able to appreciate the multi-layered nature of empowering communication, and you'll be challenged to adopt motivational techniques. So our session structure, first of all, we're going to look at congruency in communication, then we're going to think about engagement through communication before moving on to direction through communication. And at the end, you're going to do an exercise around individual application. So congruency in communication. Think about receiving a text message. You get all the words the other person has said, but how often have you completely missed a point? Imagine you receive a text that says this: "I never said she stole my money." What does it mean? Where does the meaning come from? The speaker or the listener? There's actually just 7 words, but 7 meanings to this phrase, depending on which word you emphasize or which word the emphasis is heard upon. The words we use to communicate are clearly important. They're the basic building block, yet without congruence with self and others, the words can create confusion. So what is congruence? In essence, congruence is the act of different elements being in agreement. Returning to our phrase above, its meaning only comes through agreement between the words and our delivery of the words. This means when we communicate with others, we should be aiming to ensure our whole demeanour displays and suggests what we intend our words to mean. This includes the use of our voice, tone and loudness, for example, our body language, and even our location where the communication happens. Whilst this is not an exhaustive list, you can see the point is that we need to be planned to ensure we do not give any mixed messages. This requires us to have integrity and be honest with ourselves when communicating with others. Then there's congruence with the person with whom you're communicating. We also need our communication to resonate with the other person in a way which demonstrates integrity to who we are, but also the need to have resonance with the other person in body language, choice of words, and the stories which connect and have shared meaning and importance. When all aspects of our communication match with who we are and what we are trying to communicate, and this matches with the other person, our communication potential to empower change is at its maximum. We could express this in an equation. Congruency, a congruent communication, equals integrity plus connection. So on to our question break. Consider some examples of when you have felt a real connection with someone, and when you have felt a complete absence of connection. What characterised what you did in each situation? Engagement through communication. Whilst good communication skills are important, it is their motivation which is critical to coaching approaches. In coaching cultures, this motivation can be best characterised as engagement. Engagement is characterised by a two-way process which outcomes in mutual benefit. In the case of a coaching culture, our skillful communication is not intended to cunningly convince the other person to do what we want, but is instead designed to help us engage them in a joint process which has maximum benefit to both parties. As you can see in the picture, characterise this by an engagement of 2 people. And it's that relational committed approach which best demonstrates engagement. So whether working with an employee or service user, there are some shared principles which can support a sense of engagement. Role modelling the importance of and your response to feedback, giving people plans and constructive feedback, sharing and demonstrating values with integrity, role modelling personal accountability for mistakes as well as successes, not only encouraging innovation but also offering support for it to happen, providing appropriate responsibility and authority to act independently, linking personal and organisational, social and community goals, providing recognition and reward, and cultivating and demonstrating a positive climate for experimentation and trust. Similarly, there are also behaviours and attitudes which disengage others. Not feeling respected by the coach or being able to respect their coach, not feeling valued, having ideas discounted, being unclear about goals and expectations, a lack of integrity with stated values, lack of teamwork and encouragement, personal expression not being valued, a lack of empowerment, and a lack of useful feedback. These principles will take on different meaning in relation to whether you are a manager or practitioner, but the underlying philosophies are what count. Again, addressing these and expressing them as an equation, it might look something like this. Engaging communication equals lived values plus empowerment plus relevance plus personal validation. And on to our question break. Working through each of the bullet points above, look for examples of how you could implement these with someone you are working with. And now direction through communication. One of the fundamental aspects to the direction of a coaching style conversation is that it is characterised by the idea, what do I do next? As such, most coaching orientated questions avoid the use of why. This is because why is an interrogative question which tends to force the recipient to look back and investigate what they did, rather than orientating them towards what they can do now. It is not that there is never a place for why in the coaching vocabulary, but it's just that it is used sparingly. Often in a work context, a coaching culture is one in which we will be engaging in ongoing learning. Jones and Gobble provide a useful summary of questions which can aid in this regard. How did you feel that conversation, meeting or event went? What things surprised you? What did you learn? What might you do differently next time? A couple of things I noticed were, what are your thoughts on this? How has this conversation helped you? What do you take away from this conversation? You'll notice that these questions are all about what the individual has learned from the past with a focus on encouragement and application for the future. To express this as an equation, coaching questions equals forward focus plus appreciative plus curious. And our question break. Create your own list of questions which has resonance for you and your practice context. And so to our final exercise of this session, our individual application. Reconsider your role and organisational responsibilities and opportunities, and create an implementation plan as to how you can make all your interactions with others congruent, engaging and directional.